Hello, everybody. Welcome to the LC Muscles NHL Stanley Cup predictions for the 2016 Stanley Cup Playoffs. And it's just a little video of me. This is going to be a quick video. It's not going to be too long because, unfortunately, I wish I could have done yesterday, but I was seeing the Jungle Book movie. And a review of that movie will be coming out with other review movies this tomorrow night on the Painting Game podcast, so look forward to that. So, with that being said, let's talk about the 2016 NHL playoffs. Starting out with the Eastern Conference, we got some interesting matchups here. So, I'm going to start things off in the Eastern Metropolitan Division, which had the most conference teams, playoff teams with 5. So, starting off in the first series is the Philadelphia Flyers and the Washington Capitals. And now this is definitely going to be an interesting playoff matchup because the Flyers are coming off getting into the playoffs barely in like 2 days before the season finale. And the Washington Capitals are the President's Trophy winners. And if you know anything about trivia in the past couple of years for hockey, the Capitals have not done well with this President's Trophy record. They have 120 points from what I remember seeing. And now they are sitting up top. They have the Philadelphia Flyers. But here's an interesting stat. The Capitals have not won like more than one playoff series since Alex Ovechkin entered the NHL. Now that is pretty surprising because Alex Ovechkin and Sidney Crosby were both back-to-back top picks that year in 2005, and Sidney Crosby's already won a Stanley Cup, but yet Alex Ovechkin has been part of 2 President's Trophy wins. And when they were the President's Trophy winner, they have won 0 playoff series. They've won a total of 3 games in those playoffs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they only won 3 games each. I think it's 3 games each or 3 games total for the President's Trophy. They have not advanced past the first round while winning the President's Trophy. This year, however, I feel like it's going to be different. I think the Capitals this year are much stronger. They have much more depth, and I definitely have a really good goaltender, Braden Holtby. Here is what I'm concerned about: the experience. There are some players in the Capitals that have playoff experience, like Matt Niskanen, Nicholas Backstrom, and many more have playoff experience. But the Flyers are coming off in a little bit hot right now. The Capitals did lose their last game. Philadelphia won their past 2 games against playoff teams, so it could be interesting, but unfortunately, I got to say the Capitals are going to break their streak. They're going to win their first playoff series since 2012. Yes, that was right. It was 2012. They beat the Boston Bruins in Game 7. They will beat the Philadelphia Flyers in this 7-game series. It will not go to 7, though. It will go to 6 games, so I have the Capitals moving on. Coming up next is the Metropolitan Conference, the Metropolitan Playoffs, the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is the team right here, against the New York Rangers. And now this has definitely been an interesting playoff series because the past 2 years in a row, the Rangers have had our number. This year, since we fired head coach Mike Johnston, that's the name. Sorry, I'm confusing names. But Mike Johnston, since we fired him and brought in Mike Sullivan, we have changed, and we have dominated the Rangers. This series was 3-1 in the season series. I'm sorry for the Flyers and Capitals. I think it was even. So it really didn't say too much here. But Pittsburgh this year has much better depth. They have much better goaltending, and I think they're a much better team right now. They're much more hotter right now. The Rangers this year have been subpar. I'm not gonna lie. Like the Rangers 2 years ago when they fought the Kings, I was really hoping the Rangers would beat the Los Angeles Kings. Fortunately, they could not do that. The Rangers, though, I think do have some really good playoff experience. I think they have really good goaltending, Henrik Lundqvist. Here's the problem, though. You're missing Rick. You're missing Eric Stahl. You're missing Dominic Stefan. Two big guys on your team, your captain, and one of your best scorers. That is a recipe for disaster right there. And this year, I feel the Penguins have been playing much better against the Rangers than in years past. This is the 3rd time in a row that they have met in the playoffs, but this is the first time that the Penguins will win and beat the Rangers in the playoffs. I have a feeling Pittsburgh's goaltending and depth will be way too much overcome for the New York Rangers. I have the Penguins winning in 6 games. Next game, let's go to the Atlantic Division. We have the Florida Panthers and the New York Islanders. And now this is definitely one of the things I'm a little happy about because I get to go see Game 2 on Friday night with my good buddy Joe, if you know him as Phoenix Slater Mario Fire. I get to go hang out with him and a bunch of my other buddies going to see this game. The New York Islanders, though, have been very, very unimpressive in the past couple of weeks. They've had some good wins. They beat New York I think like a week ago. They beat the New York Rangers. That was impressive. But otherwise, this has been a subpar season for them. They were really, really expected to be a lot better than they were this year. They got 101 points. That's not bad, honestly, but it's not as good as they've been in the years back. They did make the playoffs this year, which was definitely an improvement. But I think the Florida Panthers are the biggest surprise this year in the NHL because no one, and I mean no one, picked them to make the playoffs. The Panthers were a couple games out of making the playoffs last year. I went to go see their last game, and I thought, man, this team has a lot of upside. I was right. Roberto Longo and Jaromir Jagr, former Pittsburgh Penguin, have dominated for the Florida Panthers, and they took home the Atlantic Division's #1 seed. That is very impressive. They've had a great season right here, and I think they're going to continue their great season by beating the New York Islanders in 5 games. I think that the Islanders right now, don't have a strong goaltender. Their top goaltender is out for the season. Their bench play is weak. I just think the Panthers have a much stronger bench, a much stronger goaltending in it, and that's what's going to prevail in the end. I'm picking the Panthers in 5 games. Now, this is probably the one that's going to be going the most out of the Eastern Conference games. This will probably go the most games. The Detroit Red Wings versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. And this is a rematch from last year's series that went to 7 games. And this series, unfortunately, is going to be – it's not going to be the best-looking series out of all of them, but it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a hard-fought series. The Red Wings – barely squeaking by into the playoffs this year for their 25th straight NHL berth. But I just have a feeling the Lightning, even though they are without Stamkos for the entire playoffs, they will not have him back because of a blood clot to his arm. I think that the Lightning are going to win. I think Ben Bishop is a much stronger goaltender. The Detroit Red Wings right now are a complete mess. I just don't see them doing well. Even though they're going to win a couple games because the Lightning don't have a strong team this year, I still think that the Lightning will prevail over the Red Wings in 7 games. Then I'm going to go into the West for the first round. Starting off in the West, I have the Anaheim Ducks and the Nashville Predators. And the Nashville Predators are a pretty strong team. They got good goaltending. They got good forwards. That's what mainly their big strength is, the forwards. For the Ducks, though, they just have a really young goaltender. They have a lot of really good offense, and a decent defense. The Predators, though, the one thing that they're lacking from is a defense. They aren't the best defensive team when it comes to hockey. And the Ducks, I think, will expose it. I don't see the Ducks really having a problem with the Predators because I just think the Ducks will just run all over the Predators. Give me the Ducks in 5 games. Next on the list. It is in the Pacific Division, by the way. This is in the Pacific Division. The Los Angeles Kings and the San Jose Sharks. And I know my buddy Alex is a San Jose Sharks fan, so this could be interesting. But unfortunately, this will probably be the hardest hitting series of the entire first round. These two absolutely hate each other. They're division rivals. They're right near each other. This is a lot of bad blood in this series. But I think the Kings, with their strong goaltending and with Anze Kopitar leading the way, I have the Los Angeles Kings winning in 7 games. I just don't see the Sharks winning. It's just tough because I just think Jonathan Quick will come up in the end of the series to win it. In the Central Division, let's go to see the Dallas Stars versus the Minnesota Wild. And now the Minnesota Wild have the weakest team going into the playoffs. I don't think they have a shot in hell in taking down the Stars. The Stars are much, much better. They're the #1 seed in the Western Conference. They have home field advantage throughout. I don't think the Stars will have any trouble beating Minnesota. Minnesota is just an absolutely weak team. I really don't see how they got in the playoffs this year. They beat some decent teams, but I think Colorado should have been in the playoffs this year. But Minnesota Wild just had a hot streak going in later in the year. I just don't see them doing anything against the Stars. So I have the Stars in 4 games. This is a complete sweep. And finally, for the Western Conference, for the first round, I have in the Central Division the Chicago Blackhawks and the St. Louis Blues. And this is the second or third, correct me if I'm wrong, the second or third straight matchup of the year they have faced each other in the playoffs. Last year, it went to 7 games. I know it was a 6-game series last year. But the Blackhawks this year, other than Patrick Kane, what do they have? They do have an average goaltender at best. They have some good players, but this is not the Blackhawks team that won a few years ago. This is not the Blackhawks team that won last year in the Stanley Cup. They lost a lot of guys. They don't have as much momentum as the Blues do. The Blues have been surging the past few weeks. And I think the Blues will finally get the Blackhawks number on this series. I see them winning 6 games. I finally see them winning a playoff series. They're like the Capitals. They always do well in the regular season, but then they fall in the postseason. Now, I've been this year. I have the St. Louis Blues upsetting the defending Stanley Cup champions Chicago Blackhawks in 6 games. Now to the divisional round, the semifinal round for each division. I'm going to go in the reverse order this time, though. I'm going to just go from the west to the east. So starting out, I have the Dallas Stars versus the St. Louis Blues. The Dallas Stars, I think, are just the much better team. The St. Louis Blues will give this a very interesting run, though. The Stars definitely will have a lot of tough time, especially with the goaltending. It's going to be tough to score on the Blues, but I think the Stars will make the adjustments necessary to beat the Blues. So I have the Stars winning in 6 games. And now the Anaheim Ducks and the Los Angeles Kings. The Anaheim Ducks and Los Angeles Kings, this is another hard-hitting rivalry series. This is going to be one heck of a matchup. Yeah, great goaltending, great offenses, but I just think the Kings have the Ducks number in the playoffs. It's happened the past couple of years. I think the Ducks aren't as good as everybody says they are in the playoffs. I have the Kings winning this one. I think the Kings are going to win. It's going to be a 7-game series, no doubt about that. But I have the Los Angeles Kings winning this series. Now let's go to the East, starting off with the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. And this is going to be interesting because the Florida Panthers, they have not been out of the first round of the playoffs since the 90s, I think. It was 98 or something like that. I don't remember 100% exactly, but they have not been to the second round of the playoffs in a very, very long time. I think this is an extremely special year for the Florida Panthers. I think the Panthers will take down the Lightning. Without Steven Stamkos, though, I don't think the Lightning will get very far. So give me the Florida Panthers to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning and go on to the Eastern Conference Finals in 6 games. And then finally, the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals. And now here's an interesting stat. The last time the Washington Capitals made it to the divisional round, they only won 1 game. Will that happen this time around? They'll probably win 2 games, but I just don't think that the Capitals have the playoff experience that Marc-Andre Fleury and the Penguins have. Alex Ovechkin, it seems like he cannot score in the divisional round. Last time he was in the divisional round of the playoffs, he did not do well. I think this Capitals team is different from the years past, but I just don't see the Capitals making it past this round. I think the Penguins are too strong. I think their defense, Pittsburgh's defense, will be way too much for the Capitals to handle. I'd give me the Penguins to win the series. They have the advantage on the Capitals this season. I just think that I think Pittsburgh can win anywhere, including in Washington. Give me Penguins to win this one. It's the Penguins' year. I have a very good feeling because even though we've had our struggles, we start out very, very bad. We were in 9th place when we fired our head coach, 9th place in the Eastern Conference. Then we came back up to win the second best record in the Eastern Conference with 106 points. So, yeah, The Penguins are doing big things this year. I think the Penguins are on a hot streak. I think the Capitals are a good team, but I just don't see them getting past the Penguins here. Give me the Penguins in 6 games. Now the conference championships. Let's go to the first one, which is the Eastern Conference, the Florida Panthers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. And this is somewhat like what I'm talking about with the Eastern Conference Divisional Playoffs. The Panthers have a good amount of experience. They just don't have enough playoff experience. The Longo has been in big situations before. He's going to keep the Panthers in the series. My big issue is, how is Yager going to do against the Penguins and Marc-Andre Fleury? They played each other before. The Penguins right now just have the better depth. They have the better scoring talent. I think the Penguins will have much more experience than the Florida Panthers. A lot of the Panthers are really young. They have a bright future ahead of them. I think they're going to be a contender for many years to come. I just think that the Penguins, though, are too strong with their experience, with the combined playoff experience. Plus, I think Evgeny Malkin will be coming back for the conference finals because I think he's going to take off some time, maybe come back in the middle of the divisional round. But I think he's going to come back strong in the Eastern Conference Finals. If you have the Crosby, Malkin, Letang, and Kessel, Hornquist, you got so much talent. The Panthers don't have as much scoring talent as the Pittsburgh Penguins do. I have the Penguins going to the Stanley Cup and beating the Florida Panthers in 5 games. I think the goaltending can only get them so far for the Florida Panthers. Because against the Lightning and against the Islanders, you can score a lot of goals and win games. Like, the Panthers will score a lot. But against the Penguins and a stalwart defense like the Penguins have, it's going to be very tough for the Panthers to get through them. And then finally, the Western Conference Finals. It's going to be the Los Angeles Kings against the Dallas Stars. And many people are thinking this is going to be the Stars' year for the playoffs. I do think the Stars are an excellent team. They are probably the best shot at winning this year. I just don't think the Stars will have enough gas left in the tank to beat the Kings. The Kings know what they're doing. They've been in the playoff experience before. Quick is a much better goaltender, I think. The Kings just have a better offense, long-term offense. Their depth is a lot stronger than the Stars. The Stars are a great team. They do have a bright future, just like the Florida Panthers. But I just think that the Los Angeles Kings are a much better complete team. Give me the Los Angeles Kings in 7 games to win this series, because I just think it's going to be too tough for the Stars to handle, especially in the prime time. The finals are on the line. Stanley Cup final berth is on the line. I just don't think that they're going to perform under the pressure. Give me the Kings. They performed well under pressure before. They're going to do it again. And now it's time for the Stanley Cup final. The Pittsburgh Penguins against the Los Angeles Kings. The hot streak versus the playoff experience of the Los Angeles Kings. The Kings have been in Stanley Cups before. They've been in 2012, 2014 for the previous years, and they've won both of them. The Kings are a very, very good Stanley Cup playoff team. They have proven themselves time and time again. The big key for this series, though, if it comes down to this, which offense will score more points? You got 2 great goaltenders, Jonathan Quick and Marc-Andre Fleury competing in it. And you've got to realize one of these guys is going to crack under pressure. For my money, though, it's going to be tough for the Kings to outmatch the scoring for the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins just have too much scoring talent. Their first line, their second line, third line, fourth line can score. The big issue, though, for me, for the Kings long term, though, for the Stanley Cup, the big issue is their third and fourth line. They don't have a strong third and fourth line like many other teams do. That's why they weren't as successful this year. That was one of their big issues, is they could not get scoring from their other lines. I just think Pittsburgh, with the depth they have, it's going to put them a bit over the edge when it comes down to the facts. So give me the Pittsburgh Penguins to win the Stanley Cup in 6 games. I just think the Penguins are the hottest team going in. They've won 15 out of the last 17 games. Their goaltending is extremely, extremely strong. You have Marc-Andre Fleury to start. You have Matt Murray. You have a young guy from the AHL. I think his last name is Borrell or something like that. He is a strong AHL goalie who replaced Murray once he went up to the NHL. 3 strong goaltenders. You got the best offense, I think, in the NHL with Crosby, Malkin, Hornquist, Kessel, Letang. You got Lee Matta coming back, Bo Bennett. You got a bunch of guys coming back for the playoffs. 4 big key stars coming back for the Stanley Cup playoffs. That is really powerful. I think with the Penguins have been strong without them, they'll even be better with them. So give me the Penguins to win the Stanley Cup in 6 games. I just think with all those guys coming back, their strong defense, the strong goaltending by Fleury, I just think it's just too much for any team to overcome right now. So give me the Penguins in 6 games to hoist the Stanley Cup once again. And my MVP, if I had to pick an MVP for the Stanley Cup playoffs, I'd have to go with somebody underrated to really bring this into perspective. My MVP for the Stanley Cup playoffs would, if I had a Stanley Cup final prediction, it's the guy who deserves it more than anybody else. It's the guy who's been with so many the shittiest teams in the past couple of years. Phil Kessel. This guy has been on some of the worst Maple Leafs teams possible because the Maple Leafs are a joke. They are an absolute joke in the NHL. You pay a coach a ton of money, and yet they're the worst teams. They're the worst points team like this year. Just disappointing. They've been on so many bad Toronto Maple Leafs teams. It's about time he has a great end of the season by giving him the Stanley Cup MVP. So Phil Kessel's my MVP. I think he's going to provide the scoring the Penguins need. It's going to be too much to overcome for any other team. So give me the Penguins to win the Stanley Cup. And that is it, guys. That's my Stanley Cup playoff predictions. If you like the video, please comment. Let me know what you guys think for the NHL playoffs, and subscribe and share this video. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the Pain and Gain podcast. Be looking forward to reviews from The Jungle Book, Mount Demolition, Hardcore Henry, and much, much more. So if you guys like that, please tell everybody about it, and we'll see you guys in the Stanley Cup Finals. Go Pens.